Hi there, crafty friends. It's Diane, the Creative Inkster, and I'm coming to you from Guelph, Ontario, in Canada, about an hour outside of Toronto. This is what I really look like. You're going to see my hands, though, during all the presentation that I'm doing. And I want to welcome you to our end of our first day, and I'll let you know a little bit about myself if you're new to us and haven't met me before. So I've been a demonstrator for 15 years. And as I mentioned, I'm from Guelph, Ontario, Canada, and I have a fun crafting business here, meeting people mostly in person. And I've been looking forward to today, always looking forward to today. The cards that have been shared, the projects that have been shared so far have been really amazing, featuring our retiring in colors. I'm going to mostly be using Shy Shamrock, actually. And I like that we picked one topic, and yet we all picked different cards and different ways to show it. Thanks very much to Leanne for her cutest crew card that she featured all retiring in colors in, which I thought was amazing. And we are going to wrap up today with my presentation now, and then our day starts again, or our weekend starts again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So check the agenda for your local time on that. And I'm first up tomorrow, as it turns out. All right, let's not waste any more time and get to the crafting. So I said I'm going to mostly use Shy Shamrock, and I'm going to also use a couple of other products from the annual catalog that is closing out. These are found on page 29, and they are the Saying Something and Fully Flowering ephemera packs. So I usually like to make all of my cards fully from scratch, where we use the cardstock and we cut everything and we die cut. But I had picked these up and said, I really want to try them. I want to see how this makes my crafting look different. And so in this pack of the Fully Flowering, you get a whole bunch of die cuts. Now I have pulled them out of their sheets. They come in 2 sheets times sorry, I didn't really look at that. Yeah, 8 sheets, so 2 each of 4 designs. So you get 2 of every flower, basically, that's in the fully flowering set. And some of them are like huge, like this one, which you could use all kinds of mediums to add color to, with sponge daubers or sponges, regular sponges, or blending brushes, whatever your choice is. And then some are already done and they're already die cut out. They're just perfect for getting going. And look at how many cards you could make with this. I used them at my team meeting earlier this month and on a card, and they loved it. They loved the idea of doing something different. So along with that, there's also another pack called Saying Something, and they're all greetings. Now, I've pulled these apart so much that they are in a Ziploc bag. So you might have some that are actual full words already die cut out as a piece, or they may be die cut actual words. I don't know how to explain what the difference is, but just the word happy, for example, and friend and thanks. And because there's some of them are in white, you could also add color to them. So they're very versatile. You could sponge some color onto these, or use your blending brush, which would be my choice, and then make them to match your project perfectly. So this is what I'm going to show you how to do. This features a bit of new product as well. It has the new Paradise Garden hybrid embossing folder. And then here are some of the die cuts from Fully Flowering. There's the greeting from Saying Something. And I've added a bit of vellum and the Drucy embellishments, which are nice, large, sparkly gold and silver embellishments. And then I even added something to the inside of the card. So we're going to replicate this one, but instead of a lot of Petunia Pop, we're actually going to use Shy Shamrock. So let's get started with that. I'm going to pull out all my bits and pieces. I've done some of the die cutting ahead just to keep us rolling along. And I'm going to add also some of the Baker's Twine Essentials pack, because I find this like is a really helpful tool. And there's my Druzy embellishments. And I'll just show you what I do usually with all of my embellishments is I take these would be the older die. So if you're like me and you took them out of the sets, I have tons of these little envelopes. And then I either slide it in, so it looks kind of like this for Moody palette dots. That's actually one of the newer ones, so they're actually just taller. And then you trim down the side if they're a bit not wide enough. And then once the cardboard is pretty much done, I'm down to just tossing them in there. But I like this because then I can stand them up in a little basket, and I have what I need handy and ready to go. Okay, so what do we have here? We've pulled out some items. This is the circle. I've already die cut it from Spotlight on Nature dies. This is one of the larger ones, and I've already done it in, this is our beautiful vellum cardstock. There was an extra piece in case I needed it. Here is my card base in Shy Shamrock, which we're just past the shamrocky holiday, I suppose, with St. Patrick's Day this week. This is a standard card base. So here in North America, it is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, folded and burnished with a bone folder. And I usually cut my basic white or vanilla, or even I've used basic beige or soft seafoam, a really light color. And then I want to put that on the inside. But I also want to add one of my pieces from Fully Flowering to that. So I saw, I think it was Leanne that was using this. I think most of us tend to use our little craft sheet. I've got my liquid glue right here. I'm a liquid glue fan and use it in all my classes. And so because the die cuts come as paper with no adhesive, you know, way to add adhesive to them, you just kind of quickly add a little dot here and there. Here we go. The lid back on, and then I'm going to add it to the right side of my interior piece, which is 4 by 5 1/4, or whatever size would fit the inside of your card base. Now I watched a gal do this on a YouTube video this week, and I thought, well, that's smart. Didn't get her hands all sticky and gross. So these are tweezers that are like, they're reverse tweezers, so you pinch them to open. And I thought, well, that's a brilliant idea, especially for a glue girl like me. I just lightly tap it down and set it aside to dry. And we'll put the card base over there too. We'll kind of get to that in a moment. So I've already gone ahead on my front piece. This is 4 by 5 1/4, so a standard front layer to your card base, and emboss this with the Paradise Garden embossing folder. It's a hybrid, which means it embosses, but it also has pieces that will cut out with it. And I'm going to use my Shy Shamrock ink and a blending brush. This is one of the regular sizes. We have regular and small. And I'll just grab some scratch paper, which I use over here on the side so that my one paper stays nice and clean for as long as possible. All right, so with the blending brush, you just swirl it around, and when you go to put it down, you're going to get a splotch of ink. So I tend to go down over here on the side and start swirling it about, and that way I'm adding color without getting big blotches everywhere. I'm going to pull this in because I'm probably going to go over the sides actually now that I think about it. All right, so then I just put a little bit there, and then I'm going to add some of this color right over top, the matching color. So I do find that it's all about layering it on in bits and pieces versus trying to get all the color on in the first pass. You can get way more depth of color if you add it in different passes, if you will. And so I'm not doing anything special to try to stay on the raised area and not go on the part that is not raised. It happens that it does get in there, but I'm just using a light touch to move the ink around. But you can see I think. That's the part that is not have any color on it, and that's the part with the color on it. And it just picks up the crinkles, if you will, that are made by the embossing folder as it is embossing the cardstock and raising it up. It kind of hits those highlighted areas. Really looks great. Like, it just adds so much texture and depth to it that it's a really quick and easy thing to do. Now, if you don't have lots and lots of these blending brushes, you can rinse them out. I typically have one for greens, one for pinks, one for reds, that kind of thing, and until I add them all to my set. But if you fully wash them out, then it takes a lot of ink to get them filled again. So I tend to not let that happen. And we'll just go back over this a little bit more with what's left. And it just looks so nice. Don't you think? Totally different. All right, so we are about ready to move back to this guy. Move that out of the way. We're going to adhere the basic white to the inside. It's nice and dry now. And then, of course, if you're a Stampin' Seal person and prefer that, or your Seal Plus, you go right ahead. I know lots of people who even use tear and tape. You find what works for you for adhesives. There we go. All right, there's our inside. And then this is going to go on the front. And I just have a tip for you when I'm adding a really embossed layer with lots of edges where it's raised and not raised. I will usually use liquid glue so I get into all the nooks and crannies, or Stampin' Dimensionals. But this card's got a lot on the front already that is going to make lots of layers for mailing. So I think what I'm going to do is just add a good bit of glue, and then it'll squish around and get into all the nooks and crannies nicely. So this is one layer in, if you will. So about 1/8 of an inch in all the way around. There we go. All right, that's our layer down. And then I'm going to grab all these little pieces and build them onto my circle. Now, you could put your circle down right away and build from there, but I find with vellum, because I'm going to glue this down, I don't want to see my glue through there, which I would, but I'm going to layer down my floral pieces and then flip it over, and I'll know where I can put the liquid glue so it doesn't show up once it's down on the front of the card, if that makes sense. So I started, let's pull this in so you can see what my brain's doing here. So I started with the large flower, and I am just liquid gluing this stuff together as opposed to adding more dimension. The one thing that I actually did differently on this card, you could use glue dots, but I did actually use my tear and tape. Liquid glue, great, love it, but if I had liquid glue all over a whole layer, I'm not sure I'd be doing well. I feel like I would be making a mess. So I'm just going to add a bunch of strips of this, and if I was a person who used Stampin' Seal, which it's not my go-to, I could use that too. It's over with all my scrapbooking stuff, because I was working on one of our scrapbooking weekend retreats. So we had one last year, and I have a little station set up in my craft room where I work away at that. And so that's where my seal is at the moment. All right, so I have some tear and tape on the back. You can see it's shiny there. Okay, and now I'm going to build onto this flower. So holding it kind of like that, I'm going to add this guy here, and then this flower. I don't want to hide too much of it, so I'm going to add it there. And then I'm going to take this tall leaf and add it there. And with the tear and tape, you can also reposition as you need to, if you need to. Then I'm going to get this one to kind of be more open and wide and taking up more space. So that would be it. Now you can see that a lot of my tear and tape is covered up. So we're going to add a little bit more so that when it goes onto the card, it's good to go. So I think these ephemera packs are perfect for if you're traveling or you've got kids over or friends that want to learn to make some quick cards. It's inexpensive. You don't have to stamp things if you don't want to. All the greetings are in an ephemera pack, and so are the flowers and die cuts. It's a great beginners, but also for some people like me who've been doing this for a really long time, it's great. It's great to have some quick and simple ways. I'm going to take these away to a weekend. I'm going to, I think, and pack them up and use up these ephemera packs. I'm sort of going for centering on my circle here. I'll just press it down. And I have a couple more flowers. And these ones I'll put on with Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm actually going to use the minis, which are right here, usually right beside me, but they're not. So what we'll do is we'll just trim down a couple of these ones, the little end pieces. I don't let them go to waste. Pop that there, and this one can go here. There we go. Peel our backings off. And we'll just pop these cute guys up here and fill that space out a little bit. There we go. So that's all our flowers. Now it goes onto the card front. So as I was mentioning, I want to use the liquid glue to adhere this to my card front. And so I can now see where the flowers are on the white, so that when I add my liquid glue all squiggly like onto the vellum, it's going to be hidden. And it always goes well if I have it land exactly where I want it to be. There we go. All right. It's not quite centered. That's okay. It's okay. My embellishments will help it out. And I'm going to add some dimensionals onto this Thanks Friend, which I thought was a perfect greeting for this card. It's nice and bright and cheery. I'll just put a strip of dimensional there and put that down in the corner. And then grab my Drucy embellishments in silver. I have a take your pick tool here for helping to pick these guys up. These are a really large embellishment, and when they first came out I thought they were like too large for me, but I've actually managed to love them and use them a lot. Great at Christmas time for Christmas cards, but they also give just a little bit of a different type of sparkle than your Stampin' or your rhinestones. All right, I'm going to also add some baker's twine, and maybe we'll add it to both cards while we're at it. Pretty much any would go, but I think I want to keep with the lighter color by using the white. So what I find when this comes off, it's not in this case, but sometimes this is really, really kinky. So you take your bone folder and just run it along the edge of it between your thumb and the bone folder, and that helps straighten it out nicely. So I'm going to do my bow right off of the spool. It helps me not waste quite so much of it by having too much to cut off. I'll do my little bow, because I find if it's still a bit kinky when you're tying it, then the ends don't, the bow parts do not lie nice and flat. Grab our glue dots and snip off the end. I'll pop this on a glue dot and then stick it right here. There we go. So there's one on there. You can actually hold this between your thumb and forefinger and help guide it a little bit by sort of pulling down, and it sort of helps give it a little direction so it's not all over the place. Let's add one here too, because it was sort of missing from my sample. And then I've got a couple of other samples using the ink colors that I wanted to share with you, just to give you more ideas. And as others, I believe, and I know I heard Katie mention it, the items that we love with these ink colors at this time of year do tend to sell out quickly because people want to grab them before they're gone forever. And so you're going to want to look at that when you're planning your order, and you're going to place an order with the demonstrator who brought you to this event or invited you to this event, and then you can get our PDF with all of the instructions on, or measurements and things, not instructions, but the measurements on how to make our various projects. All right, so that's that one complete. It went really quickly. I did also want to mention that the fully flowering and the saying something ephemera packs are currently on low inventory in North America. So just a heads up, if you love these and want to get your hands on them. We have others too, though. These particular ones are on low inventory. They're in the annual catalog. That means they may or may not get more stock in if they go out of stock. So I just bring that to your attention. But we have another set called Greetings for All, and it's black and white. And there's lots of inventory that I could see in North America on this set. And it is a whole bunch of greetings in the same way. 6 sheets, 2 of each, different designs, and they are mostly black and white, but I think there's some gold in those ones too. So they're another cute one to have. All right, to make some really quick cards. All right, so those are those two. This is the one I made with my team. So, oh, no, I'm not. No, not this one isn't. This is a different one I made. But the same idea. We've got a different one, a different Spotlight on Nature circle, different embellishments, but the same idea with the greeting and some linen thread and one of the large flowers in this set. And I did add a little bit to the petal pink, and I put one of those coordinating ones on the inside. This is the one that I made recently. And it has this, I just really do love this, but this is before I thought about adding some ink to it. For this one, I used that same large flower as on here, and this color is Soft Sea Foam, which is a lovely light color. What I did with this greeting from Saying Something ephemera pack was I glued the greeting onto a piece of scrap garden green cardstock, and then I cut out around it, so that made the mat for it, which I kind of liked as another way of doing it for the ones that are not a full, I don't know, oval or a square or a rectangle, any that are just more this way, and then you could add something to it. So that's another version. And then just because I was making cards, and I think I posted this to come up this weekend on my blog, this uses 3 of the ink colors. So Petunia Pop, Petal Pink, no, Pretty in Pink rather, Petunia Pop, Pretty in Pink, and the Shy Shamrock. And it's a lovely little Easter card. So there we go. That's my project for today. Thank you for watching. I will be reading all the comments, so thank you very much for taking your time today to be with us. This is the last presentation for today. We start again tomorrow at 10 a.m. with me, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So check the agenda at the top of the group for your time zone that corresponds to that. You'll see where we're starting off at 10 a.m. Please, if you make some projects like ours or inspired by ours, feel free to share them in the private Facebook group. We love to see what you're making as well. And remember to start making a list of the things you'd like to get from our presentation, and then you can place that with the demonstrator who invited you, place it online on their store, whatever works best for you. All right, that's it for me for today. We'll see you in the morning. Thanks again for watching. Bye now.